Normally I'd go shoot now, but we ain't finna do that. Because it's ugly as shit out here. Well, it's nice. It's a nice location. But it's not good lighting. And I think lighting timing matters a lot for video quality because shadows play a big part of that. When it's just brute light, like top down, that's when it looks the worst. And the color changes because of the dirt in the air, and that's also why you get more golden sunsets at night than you do in the day, because the dust is more in the air at night because of vehicles and us walking and all that stuff. So I'm gonna try to wait, but it's painful because I'm bored as shit. Guys, welcome back to the first actual official episode of what I'm calling the sandbox. And the goal of the sandbox is to illustrate that even though something can seem boring, there's still always creative latitude. So today I'm hiking a trail called the Baylor Pass. And it's located pretty close to Las Cruces, New Mexico. So it's actually pretty. Check this out. Beautiful, isn't it? So I'm actually hiking up to hopefully the ridgeline of these mountains here, which are the Organ Mountains. And they're pretty cool. Actually, on the other side is Las Cruces. Hopefully we make it there. And this is kind of a shift for me. Pardon my operation. Still getting used to the whole vlog thing. This is a recent shift for me because a lot of my attention before was on a thing called the real world, which was what I first talked about in the first episode, like this here. But I realized after a while that it just kind of wasn't for me. I thought that getting rich and finding success was about making a ton of money. And it's not that I don't want to make money. It's more just the psychology behind it. And I don't know, it just didn't vibe with me. So I wanted to shift to something more creative, and that's why I created this project. And my first impression of New Mexico was that it's kind of boring, there's not a lot to do. And I guess that's true if, depending on what perspective you look at it, if you default to the same kinds of entertainment, you know, going to bars and clubs and nightlife and entertainment like in the city, then I guess you probably wouldn't like it here. But if you enjoy the outdoors and you like nature, then it could be a pretty cool place. My thing though was the desert seemed the most boring of all the places to go look at landscapes, but actually it's got a very calming and almost ominous effect or feeling to it. I don't know how to explain it. It seems very quiet. Like there's nothing disrupting the air. It's just quiet. I mean, you get the occasional nature sounds, but if you go really deep into the desert, oh man, it's dead silent sometimes, which is crazy to me. But the point of this series is to kind of find beauty in mundaneness. And you can find the color in the bland. And sometimes I think boring is actually a creative challenge. And that's kind of what I intended for this series. I kind of wanted to illustrate that you can find beauty in boring, essentially. So that's the goal behind it. But for me, it's kind of breaking down what used to be for me, because I thought a lot of life, or at least to be able to enjoy life, is to get wealthy and get super strong and fit, and yeah, that's all good stuff, but it's not always so simple and straightforward. And sometimes, I don't know, you just can't work so hard all the time. Sometimes you gotta find peace and relax, and I don't know, I've always had a mindset of hustle hard, maximize every moment, but I've actually found a lot of, I don't know, calmness and need for stillness. It's hard to explain, but sometimes I think you gotta break down one system in order to build a new one. And that could be scary. That could be very intimidating, because something related to hiking is, they always say, don't get off the trail. Follow the path. And applying that to making money, or maybe doing anything online, you kind of follow the path because it's laid out. Somebody did it successfully, and you think, oh, I could do this too. And you probably can. But the problem with the defined and proven path is that there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of people already walking it. And it's scary to get off the trail and go find something else out there. But it's kind of necessary in a way. It's kind of critical to kind of pave your own way sometimes. And that's kind of what I'm doing now. And the branch chief of the place that I work for was talking about how governments build systems and then they tear them down. And that can be a painful process, but it kind of does a couple things. It frees up resources, and then they build something new over there. And I thought that was interesting, because I think that sometimes it is necessary to tear things down and break systems, and I guess some can call that quitting. But that was a big psychological thing about me leaving the real world, because I didn't want to quit. I felt like it was necessary to keep going, keep pushing, and there's a lot of psychology built into, not giving up. And I agree, you shouldn't give up. But some systems need to be torn down. And sometimes you do need a fresh start. But that doesn't necessarily mean you're starting over. That just means you're applying your old experiences to your new situation. And I was really worried for a long time about giving into what I thought was shiny object syndrome. And if you're not familiar, shiny object syndrome is when you get distracted by something fancy or exciting, and you give up on the thing that you're currently doing. And what happens is you find that you get a lot of unfinished projects and never completing certain things, and that can build up regret over time. But I think there is also a difference between shiny object syndrome and misalignment, to be honest with you. Shiny object syndrome is giving up when it gets hard, when it's easier to quit than to keep pushing through the hard part. But misalignment is when you know that it's not working for you, but you're doing what you think you should be doing. And that's powerful. That's a very important point. You've perhaps been told that this is the thing to do, but you know deep down that that's not what you're supposed to do. And that's different. Because I was having trouble getting on the path again. I stopped for a bit, and then I was like, where did the enthusiasm go? Where did the drive go? Why did it just vanish? I think I was starting to realize I don't know what it was, but just not vibing with me, not really working. So it was hard to kind of let that go. But I think it can open up doors to new ventures because it freed me up to do this. And that kind of goes back to the point of what I was saying is you break things down and you trim the dead weight to do and free yourself up for something else. And sometimes that's necessary. But another thing that I was super worried about was being lazy. You know, like I was like, oh, why am I losing the drive? Why can't I get back on the horse? And I thought it was maybe laziness. I was like, where did it go? What happened? And I think there's a difference between it is misalignment, knowing that you shouldn't do something, and laziness, because laziness is knowing that you need to do something and wanting the thing that is the result, but not willing to do the work. That's laziness. But I think I mixed up my points a little bit. I was talking about misalignment, and I think that's the contrast to laziness, actually. But the contrast to shiny object syndrome, I think, is actually experimentation. So, sorry, it's hard to do this and talk, make points all at the same time, and hike a mountain. I think that the opposite side of shiny object syndrome is a phase of experimentation. And I think that it's okay to set a trial period of, okay, you give yourself license to stop doing something and do that thing, and if you like it, cool, but if not, you're allowed to switch, because it's not shiny object syndrome because perhaps it's just not for you, you know? So, versus shiny object syndrome is just like quitting when it gets hard. And that's what I'm starting to realize now. But we tend to be our own worst critics. Maybe it's not as bad as I thought it was before, but I don't know, it's complicated. But this trail is beautiful, and I am glad to start getting out in nature. And sorry if it's a little wonky to watch. I'm not sure how this is going to turn out with the gimbal and everything. So I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. I'm also looking forward to seeing where this trail goes, because I'm hoping we can get on the other side of the ridgeline. So we'll see. There is White Sands Missile Range, which that is the main army base of operation, and about 200 miles to the north is where the range actually spans. way in the distance there is Holloman Air Force Base. And yeah, it's pretty impressive. We did it! Summit! Woo! We did it, guys! We reached the summit of the Oregon Mountains. So there is White Sands, and then there, if I can get it stopped down a little bit, is Las Cruces. And man, is it beautiful. I'm very impressed. This was definitely worth the hike. So thank you for joining me, guys. Stay tuned for next episodes. I don't mean just to talk about my own life, but it is a good medium for sharing some creative experiences, and hopefully you guys can take away some stuff. I also intend to infuse some psychological lessons as well that I'm kind of learning along the way, and I hope you enjoy. So see you next time.